Hello, Commanders. Hope you're all doing well today. I wanted to put out a quick video here to talk a little bit more in depth about the hostiles and look at a battle report with you. I think that it's a given that Scopely does not really understand the common player and where their ships are at, the assumptions they make. For where you're supposed to be at. I kind of feel like the level of hostiles I need to hit, that I need a G5 rare and I'm not quite there yet. Or I need a 2 or 3 more tiers on my my current ship. So anyways, it's a difficult place to be for some players. And I'm seeing that with a lot of the Discord messages I'm reading from different players. I think that the hostiles are very frustrating. So let's talk about it. Let's jump into it. Just a quick reminder to please remember to subscribe, like, and hit the bell notification to be aware of future content. Try to make content that's helpful. Sometimes I'll put out 2 or 3 of these videos. One, because I try to get information out to you as quick as possible. In the purpose of this video, as I'm still doing crew tests, is to give you the conceptual ideas behind the hostiles. So you can look at your crews, you can see what you have, and try and do the best you can to put something together. And I'm always happy to give my thoughts in Discord. I'll put that link in the description box below. Remember, you may have to hit the click or see more or read more to see it, but it will be there. So let's talk about the hostile, shall we? Let me pull up really quick here. So here is a level live that I have to hit. Sorry, if I go back into the game, and this is just for some, I guess, context of what I'm looking at. Yours will be different depending upon your level. But if you go to the artifacts, mine is level 55 to 60. So I'm at the bottom of that range, right? But in order to hit these, if I click on up here, earned by defeating level 55 to 59 silent hostiles in silent nebula systems. So as you can see, I actually only beat 1. So I ended up using some of the tokens I got to go into some lower level systems just to complete the SMS. But I'm trying to figure out a good strategy for these. And as a reminder, if you haven't seen my video or other content creators, hop over here real quick. I want to share this with you. If you go to the Star Trek Fleet Command's web store, you have to log in with your Scopely ID. But if you go to redeem code and enter this ENT3, so you go right here, just type it in right there and hit redeem, it will give you there's some shards for some of the new artifacts, but what it does is it will give you, I think, 3 of the tokens to go into these new systems. So that will help. Even if your ships aren't up to par, you don't feel like you're quite there yet, it will at least give you 3 more free tries. So, okay. So let's talk about the silent enemy, and it's important that we talk about this. It's interesting. Let's first looking at the firing pattern. They've got 2 energy weapons, 2 kinetic weapons. Each one of those fire 3 shots per weapon per round, just straight all the way through. If we go, I'll come back up to the abilities real quick because that's kind of the meat of what I want to explain here. But if you look at the energy weapons, the kinetic weapons, they have the same crit chance, 10%, the same critical damage, 150%, accuracy, penetration, modulation, and minimum and maximum damage, they're basically the same. Now the type, their energy versus kinetic, may impact some of the crews that you can think about. But ultimately, it looks like they have the same amount of damage, which is interesting. Okay, here's where we really need to focus in on. I'm going to talk through this, go through a battle report that I had some success with, and then give you my thoughts on the next things I'm going to try and why. So first off, Ruthless Pursuit increases critical chance by 100% for the first 4 rounds. So, unless you have some officer that can reduce this 100% significantly, you're basically going to have all critical shots for the first 4 rounds. So all 3 shots of each weapon, each round for the first 4 rounds is going to be critical, and it's going to hurt. Depending upon the level of hostile you're hitting and the hull of your ship and stuff like that. Deadly Strike increases critical damage by 350%. So the way I interpret this is you've got 150%, but it's going to increase it to what? By 350, so that's what, 500%? If I'm reading that right. At the start of each round, and that doesn't say the first 4 rounds. So this, whenever it fires a critical, it's gonna do some good damage. Luckily, once you get past those first 4 rounds, it's only 10% chance, so it's not too bad. But that you cannot reduce it below 50%. So an officer like Trip Tucker, for those who have him, is going to be helpful to lowering the critical damage, but you can't lower it below the 50%. And then, of course, there's burning for the first 6 rounds. For 6 rounds of hard combat. So I'm reading a little bit wrong there, but essentially for the first 6 rounds of combat, you're going to have burning applied to your ship. Okay, so let's keep those things in mind. As I pull open the battle report, let me scroll down. I hit quite a few hostiles in deep space, but here's the one that I beat as I was trying to hit the 55s. So what I've got here is I've got Janeway. When you take hull damage from a non-player hostile, and she doesn't get full mitigation because I only have 1 Voyager officer here, but she's going to increase shield mitigation, so more damage is going to go to the shields. Unlike the Zindia, who ignore the shields, these silent enemies do not, and so she is applicable in this case. And then, so you have more damage going to the shields and less to the hull, which is nice. And we'll see that in the battle report. But my EMH Doctor, he's a little bit higher tiered, so he does provide some more mitigation based upon the health of my ship. So that's helpful. And then I put Lorca on. I wanted to see if he would help increase the critical damage, or the damage from criticals with hull breach. So if we look at the battle log, it went 16 rounds. I have Janeway that procs right away. Enterprise Troy. Oh, I forgot. Let me share this as well. So I put Hugh below deck. I put Enterprise Troy below deck. And I had B'Elanna Torres. I was just trying to throw some extra officers below deck to help out with extra damage. Probably shouldn't have had B'Elanna Torres below deck because I had Lorca. And my Lorca is just fine for applying that, but it's going to be really important to kind of play with her below decks as much as you can. Okay, so let's hop into the battle log once again. So I've got those proccing, and then we have the first weapon, the 3.791 critical damage. Mitigated a certain amount, received some shield damage and some hull. So I'm around 300 or 400, almost around 500,000 hull damage for each one of those shots. And then I do some damage with my shots, and because Janeway procs, I'm then going to take less damage. Now it says for 1 round. And there will be a little bit of overlap. So as you can see, I take a lot more shield health damage. Or I should be taking more. It's 3.5. Looks like it took 2.4 standard damage, so we're reducing the damage as well. There must be from the Doctor. Yep, so the Doctor is providing some extra mitigation there. But I had almost 0 that went to hull health there because Janeway procs. Then I did some good shots there, so that's pretty good. If you can knock out these hostiles in less than 4 rounds, that's probably a good strategy to have. But then as you see here, because Janeway procs again, I have no hull health damage. So that's the power of Janeway in this case, something I was testing out. So 0 hull damage, 0, 0, 0, 0. Fantastic, I like that. So now we're through round 1. Okay, and then it fires again, and I need to wait for Janeway to proc again. So there's Janeway procking again. Minimal damage. She procs a second time between the weapons of the energy and the kinetic, and 0 whole health damage. So that's her, the power with Janeway. But as you can see, I'm still getting some decent shots, but because of my mitigation, I'm stopping a lot of it. Let's go down. We'll have the same story where she's making it so we get 0 hull damage. In round 4, critical, critical, critical. Pretty big shots, taking some damage. Still doing criticals, so that hurts, but she does help so that during at least a portion of the round, maybe half of the shots, she's making it so we take 0 or near 0 damage. But here's where it gets exciting. We're then past round 4, and it is no longer firing criticals. And so I'm able to stop a good portion of it. Rather than taking that 500,000 whole health damage, I'm now down to 50k or so. So I take even less there. When she's proccing, we then go to 0. So at this point, I'm taking a lot less damage from the hostiles, as you can see. Then, so for me, what it looks like is that this scenario here is, oh, and see, we have a critical. So I still took some good damage. That 10% does proc once in a while. But I guess the main point here is that you have to find a way to either knock out the hostile really quickly, so in those first, I would say in those first 4 rounds, or you need to have a way where you can stop that damage. So what's a couple of crew combinations that I have in mind? Oh, well, I should have repaired this right away. So let's go. So a couple of crew combinations I want to try that I'm probably going to try tomorrow and add it to my list. But let's open this up here. So I'm thinking that one thing I want to try is something like this. Pike Moreau Trip Tucker. Now with this, Trip Tucker, when you take damage, and mine is only tier 1, he decreases your opponent's critical damage by 50% for 2 rounds. This ability can stack. Weapons with multiple shots will only trigger this ability once per attack. So since it has 4 different weapons, and they fire 3 shots each round, so but it only counts 1 per weapon, you're looking at 200% reduction in critical damage. So if we hop back over here, it has 350%. You then drop it with the 350 plus the 150, 500. It drops it down to 300. So what is that? That's like a 40% drop, roughly, if I'm doing my math right there. So dropping it from a 500 to the 300 can be impactful, especially during those first 4 rounds. Now, with Pike Moreau, you know, as we have learned, he increases the effectiveness of all officer abilities that trigger in combat by that percent, but he gets synergy from Moreau, which boosts his abilities. So this could be a good option right here if you're really struggling with those criticals. Another option is if you're doing okay, if your ship's strong enough, you may do all right with having Picard Data Tucker. Tucker's still going to reduce the damage of those critical shots. You're going to have the isolytic effect from Picard and Data, especially Data. And then you're also going to get the loot bonus from Picard. So that is certainly an option to try. One other was, let's see here, one that I want to try as well, just because I was getting good results from the mitigation and the shield reducing to have taken 0 damage, is I kind of liked the Janeway Doctor combination with Trip Tucker. So it's tough when we talk about some of these, because I know some people don't have Tucker. I think he's going to be, if you're close in the event start, I would definitely recommend going after him. Another option I was considering, if you don't have Tucker and you don't have some of these officers, let's see here. If we go and you want to get max synergy here, So it's not. I couldn't think, and I'll have to go through the list again. But at this level, when you're fighting hostiles, Strange New World Spot decreases hostile critical hit chance by 35%. So that's his regular 15% plus 10% from these two different officers for a total 35%. So you're lowering the crit chance, so you might not. We'll have to test it. It's the best thing I could kind of think of off the top of my head. So like I said, I'll have to go through. Excuse me, have to go through the officers, but I don't remember that there's other officers that reduce the critical hit chance that much. But taking it from 100 down to 65%, you might lower how much you're actually going to take damage wise, because you might stop some of those criticals from popping. So we'll have to kind of, that might be a crew that you'll want to consider. This is kind of like one of the crews that I wouldn't strongly recommend if you have the other officers, because honestly, a drop from 100 to 65% really isn't that significant of a drop. But if you absolutely don't have anyone else, it could be something you try and just see how it works. But ultimately, I think the goal here is you're getting most of the damage from these hostiles in those first 4 rounds with the criticals. So if you have some way to either limit their criticals from popping, or if you have a way to reduce your damage, like with Janeway, or if you have the power based upon the strength of your ship and what hostiles you need to hit, if you have the power to knock out these hostiles in less than 4 rounds, then I think that's going to be the goal. And remember, once again, that based upon your operations level, if I go to artifacts, my range for me as an Ops 55 player, unfortunately, is between 55 and 59 hostiles. And so for me to get the parts I need for this refine, I'm going to need to be hitting at least level 55 hostiles. Now you, once again, like I had a strategy this morning of hitting lower just so I could complete the SMS, that may be a priority for you. But as far as trying to get these turn-ins, you're going to want to get your ship strong enough with whatever crews you're able to kind of test. As I've talked about, I really just want to give you the ideas. I want to give you the thoughts of this is how you can craft your own strategy for attacking the hostiles, and you're going to have to go through your own crews and see what you have. There may be some that we come up with in the community in coming days that will be better, and so I'll try and keep my eyes and ears open, test some things myself, and collaborate hopefully with some other people within the community. But hopefully we can find some good solutions to these. But for now, just keep in mind, if you have a way to stop or reduce those criticals in those first 4 rounds, that's going to be significantly important to you surviving longer and taking out more hostiles. So hopefully this information is helpful. I look forward to your comments, and we will see you next time.